Right. Okay. We're going to kick off now. Like I say, welcome. If you're of Irish origin, have a good, happy St. Patrick's Day. And thank you for pulling yourself away from the Guinness for the time being to come and listen to us. Like I say, this is one of our first series with Luware. We're going to be running throughout the year. So we're quite excited about that, and we've got some other news to talk about later on. Just going through the agenda. I'm Michael Lloyd, I'm CEO of Nuvola. I'm just going to quickly run through Nuvola Group and who we are and what we do and where we specialise. So you get a good idea of where we sit in the ecosystem. Just to be aware, we're recording this. So again, this will be available for everyone afterwards. Then we've had an upgrade. Jordan has stepped into the shoes of Ollie, who is off sick. So thankfully we've got Jordan instead. So thank you, Jordan, for filling in. He's going to be talking about the Luware piece, where the Luware is having a great deal of success at the moment, looking at customers and going through a very high level view of the product. And obviously with all the things we talk about today, we'll be reaching out to you to see if you want to continue the journey on Luware and Smarsh moving forward. So we'll be able to go to a deeper dive later on. And then Justin Powell, channel account manager at Smarsh, is going to look at how Smarsh is actually quite an easy foot in the door, easy win, great conversation piece around call recording, PCI compliance. So again, he's going to go through some of those pieces there. We're then going to get on to Karen, who's head of cloud at Nuvola. She's going to be just talking very simply about how we've had success working with partners in selling the products with Luware and Smarsh, and packagizing the whole proposition to make it very easy for you to take to market. Throughout, we've got a Q&A portal. So if you've got any questions, it would be probably easier if you could hold on till the end. We'll run through them. Again, this will be recorded, so you won't have to take notes. You'll be sent a recording of this to then have a look at what we've kind of answered and what questions we've put out there. So without much further ado, so just quickly, I'm going to just quickly review who Nuvola are. We have a number of companies within the group. NTS is the business that's running this webinar. We are what we call a solutions provider within the channel. So some would call us the old distribution. We are trying to move away from that, and I'll explain about that in a bit more. We also have Nuvola Ireland. So we set up Nuvola Ireland probably about 6-7 years ago. And what that does do, obviously, we service our Irish partners very easily. And this is based around, obviously, the Republic of Ireland. But it also means that if you've got any customers in Europe where you want to transact in euros, for example, or if you want to move hardware into Europe without the headache of the paperwork and the tax implications, you obviously can transact via the Irish entity and move around Europe. And we've had a lot of success there. And then finally, we have Nuage. Nuage is our professional services arm. This is where it enables us to work with Luware around offering support packages and licensing. And that has been very successful in the past. We also offer a number of services around other products, and we'll come on to that. But that's for you guys as partners where you don't want to onboard fully initially, but you want to be able to offer the solution. With Nuage and Nuvola, you can offer the full wrap, and we'll come on to that in a bit. So, I mean, I mentioned just now about where distribution was, and if you're as old as I am, you know, it used to be, right, how much stock have you got? By the way, we want the cheapest price, and we need it from A to B tomorrow. You know, that generally was how distribution was viewed. I'm from the Nortel world and the Avaya world. And obviously from those traditional vendors. There was a lot of technical support, but on the whole, it was all around stock and price driven, and how you can logistically get product around. And what we've seen over the last few years, that it's actually not, there's different needs nowadays. So whereas before a partner would just focus on one vendor, and that would be enough to run their business, they've got enough solutions within that one vendor. Now the partners are walking into opportunities where there's a number of products that they might not specialize in, because resourcing that is expensive, skill sets. So therefore they need to be able to go into, and when a solution has got a number of components to do it, they need to fill the gaps. And that's where we are having a lot of success, and we're working with people. So again, we've all born out of end user sales, so we understand business challenges, and we'll make sure we provide the best solution, the best fit for that end user working alongside yourselves. And what it means for a salesman is that customer thinks, okay, this partner knows what they're talking about. They haven't just offered us the one product they sell. They've actually come in and looked at it from a consultancy approach and ensuring we get the best products. And then finally, it was used to be buy the product, ship the product, pay the bill. There's obviously agency, there's wholesale when it comes to cloud solutions. So again, we offer both those routes to market, where you as a partner can consume either as an agency or as a wholesale. And just to be clear, agency is when the vendor will bill the customer. Wholesale, which is very popular, certainly in the UK, is where we will bill you, the partner, you the bill the end user. That means you keep control of that end user. You can then add value-added services yourselves onto that. Just keeps them a little bit more sticky. And that's what we feel people need today. And obviously Teams, which is what we're talking about today. This is where Luware are very, very strong, and Jordan will come into this. So on the back of that, we've kind of created this Teams ecosystem, and you would have heard that a number of times in the marketplace. We don't sell the licenses, on the whole, partners do that themselves. But what we do is say to those partners who have skills in E3, E5, and E7 moving fine, or voice phone, Teams phone, right, okay, there's so much more just to having a dial tone. And obviously contact center is key to that moving forward. But there's things like SBC as a service. So bringing in the hybrid, the old traditional PABX is connected into the Teams, or it might be a contact center, a traditional contact center that we need to navigate into Teams and Luware. Again, that's where the SBC and Ribbon come in very strong. And obviously part of that, again, with Teams is the Operator Connect. So working alongside Gamma, the connectivity is still key with all these vendors. Operator Connect obviously takes all that problems away. No need for SBCs, no need for anything else apart from an Operator Connect license. Takes it directly into Azure and gives you that connectivity. Teams, again, probably about 6-7 years ago, was seen as a competitor to a lot of these UC, UCAS, CCAS partners. But now they're realizing they've got to embrace them. They've got to work alongside Teams. So on the UC, UCAS side of things, they'll come in with their product, working alongside Teams. So again, it's part of the Teams ecosystem. Devices, we all understand the Yealink and the monitors. SpectraLink is a key partner for us, and that's all about mobile working. So workers in factories, retails, outlying offices where they need that mobile scenario, and that could be the traditional DECT, or it could be a Wi-Fi Android device, but they want to be seen on the Teams platform and seen as a normal user. And that's where SpectraLink, again, works directly into Azure. So again, you manage the whole thing from the management platform within Teams on those devices. So you might have desk phones with Yealink, and then you have the SpectraLink for the mobile workers. And the key thing with Yealink, they're ruggedized. So again, in the manufacturing environment, it's key to make sure you have man-down facility, or make sure that you don't have to buy a new handset every 2 weeks because the cherry picker driver has dropped his phone again. Those key things are forgotten about in a lot of the solutions that you put forward. So it's a great, again, differentiator when you're talking to your customers to say, well, have you thought about those staff members who may be not in the main office in a manufacturing plant. And you need to think about them because they're as important as anyone else. And if you're moving to teams, how are you going to be able to fit them into the environment? Contact center, as we say, we're going to be talking about that mainly with the Luware. We also look at NICE CX1, which is very much a very large enterprise play. We get a lot more success with Luware in the SMB, mainly the medium-sized businesses where Luware is very tactile and nimble, and you'll see that in a minute. Moving along, we've got call recording, and Justin will go through the Smarsh element. And I apologise because he just says call recording. There's so much more to it. PCI compliance, call recording, archiving, moving from one old platform, traditional platform into Smarsh. All these pieces which are so key moving forward. Compliance, the recording of calls, making sure they're secured for 12 months, 36 years, 36 months, 7 years, whatever it might be. There is so much more just to call recording. Again, Justin will come into that. And then finally, analytics. We've all been there with the traditional old PABXs where you had every bell and whistle you could possibly have, and it tells you all the information you need. Again, with Teams, we're moving that way where people are saying, right, I need to have a bit more information about how the Teams is being used, who's using it, how many calls are we missing, what's the uptime, etc., etc. And that's where the analytics comes in from Ribbon. So you can see the complete Teams ecosystem, and my message around that is, if you go into a Teams opportunity and you're talking about Luware, there will be other parts to it where you could actually add a great deal of value. Just a bit of a classic slide about where we sit on the modern workplace and the collaborations. So I've mentioned connectivity, the OC side of things, the intranet side of things, contact center, UCAS, unified comms. So we're talking about the SBC, Ribbon, working with the hybrid side of things, and then the analytics. So, and it's all surrounded by this professional services side of things, which isn't just going in and installing. It might be smart hands. It might be surveys when it comes to the depth or the Wi-Fi. It might be migration from those traditional PABXs moving to a cloud solution. So all these things, and finally the help desk, which as a provider we have in place. So we're going to go on to a bit more moving forward. Karen comes on, but what we are a Luware Platinum partner, and we have a distribution status with Smarsh, and it's a true partner relationship. So what we can bring, like I mentioned, is we can bring that knowledge that you may not have specialists in. We can bring that along, and we can identify what is the best way of approaching the customer. And you've seen the different products we have, from the on-premise to the cloud. We have technology pre-sales, the consultant side of things. Again, very important, should you not have that specific skill set, where you can bring us in along with the Smarsh guys, along with the Luware guys, and give that full presence to your end user to say, we know what we're talking about, we can give you the right answer. We also work with these two vendors very closely around lead generation, deal registration, new business opportunities, again, protecting you as a partner to make sure you are protected by the vendor in opportunities. So again, come on board with us there, and we can make sure that happens. Like I say, discovery calls. We as Nuvola, we're happy to sit on those calls with your end users and represent you, understanding what is needed around the call recording, and certainly around contact center is key. Those discovery calls are probably the most important piece of any sales engagement. Obviously, we have the license side of things. So we obviously sell the Luware and the Smarsh licenses, but certainly with the Luware side of things, we have the full service rep. So you can buy the support around it, and ongoing licenses. You can buy all through Nuvola as one kind of managed service rep. And finally, with the billing, which is key, certainly around the Smarsh side of things, billing is important to make sure you can take the bill that we supply you and generate one for yourselves to make sure you can get your money, which is quite important. And just finally, before I wrap up on my segment, Katrina, who's on the call, put this webinar. We've done a number of playbooks, what we call playbooks. The first one is around Nuvola, and all the products we have at a glance. So something very useful for you to have. I was going to say on your desk, on your laptop, on your PC. Just runs through some of the key products that we have and goes through a bit more about the solution overviews. And we're more than happy for you to use a lot of that information for any presentations you have, RFIs, RFPs you're responding to. You know, we're happy to work alongside you to go and do some marketing campaigns, etc. And then finally, on the marketing resource, this is specifically built around the Luware. You know, the platinum status we have got, we have to have a number of engineers, number of sales engineers, a number of pre-sales. So we put a lot of resource in working alongside Luware, which means that they can actually work with us to ensure we have partners. Any partners potentially don't want to go all the way through to becoming a gold partner with Luware. They can actually work alongside us, still get all the benefits they would get dealing directly with Luware. And that's key for both parties, the message out there. And again, with that, there's a playbook again, happy for you to use this. And it talks about some of the support package we offer, has a bit of a solutions overview. So again, a nice bit of material that you're more than happy to use, badge, whatever, when going out to some of your customers. So I think that's me done for now. I will be back in a while. I'm now going to pass over to Jordan. I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute. I'm going to leave it now to Jordan. And let's see how slick this is. Oh, look at that. Dreamy. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Mike. Good to have you on the webinar, mate. Sounding so chipper, particularly with West Ham 18th in the league. Anyway.
Okay, moving on. Thank you.
Over to Nimbus and to Luware and to what we do. So I wouldn't even consider Nimbus, you know, a contact center per se. The way I would consider it for you guys as a partner, it's a way to unlock new revenues from customers who have moved to Teams, right? So these customers aren't lost. They're not lost in the Microsoft ecosystem. There's still a way for you guys to generate revenue from these customers. So consider Nimbus very much the orchestration layer just here that sits inside Microsoft Teams. So it takes all of the customers' contact channels here that, you know, we all know by now, the voice, web chats, emails, WhatsApp, CRM integrations, and it turns them all into a single platform, which is Microsoft Teams. So we don't plug into Teams. We don't integrate with Teams. We exist within Microsoft Teams using the Graph API. So there's lots of contact center vendors out there who will say, yeah, we integrate with Teams, great. And that's kind of true. They integrate, so they plug in. What we do is we exist natively inside Microsoft Teams, meaning this isn't a rip and replace when you're selling Nimbus. Don't think of it as a rip and replace. Think of it as evolving what these customers already have. So we're giving Microsoft Teams the features and functionality that it doesn't carry natively out of the box. And as you can see on this slide here, we can integrate rather into some of the CRMs that those customers may have. So things like ServiceNow, Salesforce, Zendesk, Dynamics, and we integrate with all of those platforms really, really nicely using Power Automate. And the benefit for you guys is it's a far faster sales cycle, right? Because they already operate and they already govern Microsoft Teams, these customers. So we're just going and existing inside what they've already got. So there's fewer technical blockers as well from a sales cycle perspective. This is what I call our please love me slide, and you'll recognize this, every vendor has one. And I loathe them, if I'm being brutally honest, but I think this one's really, really important to touch on very quickly, because we do already support over 100,000 users. We handle millions of interactions every single month. So I'll skip past this quite quickly, but the takeaway from a partner perspective is that this isn't early stage. This is a battle-tested technology, and we operate at international and enterprise scale for some huge customers. Some of them you can see down here. We've got a couple of really big councils that are using Nimbus at the moment, which is a really interesting vertical for us, local government, because a lot of those organizations are moving into Microsoft Teams. And when customers move into Teams, that's a huge opportunity for us. and for you guys. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, Nimbus is not a standard kind of one-size-fits-all contact center tool. It's a customer experience suite that sits within Microsoft Teams, but it can support different teams within organizations, whether that be receptionists, help desks, any kind of regional back offices, or sales teams. So all of these teams, they all have different needs, but the common denominator through all of this is that they will all be using Microsoft Teams. And from my perspective as a salesperson, this is truly the most powerful tool that we have, is that there are different licenses within Nimbus that can cater to different requirements. Because let's face it, a receptionist is not going to need the same features and the same functionality as a true contact center user. Same with a help desk user. They're not going to need the same technology as a receptionist, as an example. So this isn't a one size fits all. And the benefit for you guys, the key takeaway here, is that regardless of the use case or the team, there will be a way for us to generate value in their business and a way for us to monetize that. Now, it wouldn't be a slide deck in 2025 without an AI slide. Now, the benefit for you guys here is that our AI sort of upsell, it's not a single upsell, it's a journey. So partners can sell the automation first at the beginning of the call. So what we're seeing here is kind of the 3 stages of any call that comes into a contact center. You've got the beginning of the call, you've got the triage stage, the queue stage, when that call is then connected, how the agent controls that call, and then the post call. So the wrap up and at the end of that call. One of the great things about our AI story is that partners can truly sell this as a journey. The automation first, the augmentation next, and then some of the analytics as that maturity grows. And the revenue angle here for you guys is that you can expand this over time. You know, you can increase that deal value as you go, and you can kind of anchor in some of those long-term services. So I'll talk about our virtual user. Now, our virtual user for me is probably the easiest AI sort of sales motion, because there's a clear before and after sort of story, right? It reduces the cost without reducing the service, and it improves the customer experience and the employee experience at the same time. And essentially what virtual user is an AI-powered voice bot that sits at the beginning of the call. So we're replacing that kind of standard traditional IVR. A lot of vendors are doing that. One of the things that we do, which goes a step further, is things like priority routing. So our virtual user can detect urgency at the beginning of the call. And there's some really, really interesting use cases for this. I'm working with a local council at the moment who are using this to detect urgent repairs or safeguarding signals that come into their contact center. Because what they want to do is they want to route those calls quicker than if someone calls up and, you know, just to maybe, I don't know, report a missed bin collection or report a pothole. Those calls stay where they are and will route with urgency some of those more critical calls. And there's lots of different use cases for that. We can also use the virtual user to do ID and verification, which is really powerful from an ROI perspective, because if ID and verification takes 2 or 3 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes per call, if you've got 50 agents taking 20 calls a day, there's a hard ROI that we can save by reducing that handle time, allowing AI to do some of that ID and verification for us. And the other one is self-service and FAQs. I'm working with a manufacturing company at the moment who are reducing handle time by 25% just by getting our virtual user to answer some of those FAQs for things like length of warranty, you know, standard self-service stuff that hits lots and lots of contact centers. So I think the story here for you guys is that these AI use cases resonate in a lot of different industries, particularly public sector, healthcare, housing, any regulated services like financial services. But in terms of the ROI that we're selling, it's a great reduction in handle time of those calls. And it allows the humans to deal with some of those more complex queries that come into contact centers that do truly need a human touch. So we're getting AI to automate some of the more basic queries that come in. And you can see there, one of our customers has improved their their FCR by 22%. So they've replaced their IVR with an AI bot. It's an insurance provider, and they've gone FCR from 74% to 96%. So that's first call resolution. So this is our virtual user, and I'll keep this really, really simple. So our AI user is built using Microsoft Foundry. So Microsoft is the one providing the kind of safer and secure foundation for this. So the best way to think of it is it's almost like the building that AI runs in, right? So it locks the doors, it sets all the rules about how the data is handled. And organizations are comfortable using this because it's built on Microsoft's enterprise platform. It's not something we've kind of cooked up ourselves. The open AI element is really interesting because that's the brain, okay? So that understands the speech and it talks back naturally. So when someone picks up the phone and deals with a contact center and deals with a voice bot, the last thing they want to deal with is a voice bot that doesn't sound human. So it responds in a natural voice. It'll have a proper conversation instead of pressing buttons. And this is why it feels like sort of talking to a person rather than speaking to a robot. And there's some really, really interesting use cases that we've developed using our virtual user, some that I'm really passionate about. And if you guys, anyone on the webinar today wants to see a live demonstration of this in action, feel free, reach out directly to Nuvola and we can get a demo set up and show you exactly how it looks, exactly how it feels for an agent, and also for the person calling into the contact center. How does it look? How does it feel? So onto our Nimbus Companion. Our Nimbus Companion is a tool that will automatically transcribe and summarize all of the calls that come into the contact center. Now, what does this mean for agents? It means we can drastically reduce that after call work that agents have to go through when they're taking notes, because all of that is automatically removed using the Nimbus Companion. Now, there's lots of contact center vendors out there who are using real-time transcriptions and AI summaries. One of the areas we take it a little bit further, if I take you through this workflow now. So the call's received, it comes in, our virtual user might do that first part to triage the call, and then it will decide based on the natural language spoke by the customer, whether to route to finance, to support, or to sales. So when that call, as an example, hits sales here, our Nimbus Companion kicks in, and it will automatically transcribe and generate an AI summary of the call. Now, with most contact center vendors, that's where it ends. With us, it's slightly different because what we do is something called labeling. So we'll take that transcription, we'll take the AI summary, and we'll feed that back to the virtual user. So what's happening there in real terms, it means our virtual user, which is the tool or the bot that we will use to route the call, is learning from the transcriptions from human interactions. So as an example, if the virtual user routes a call to sales, and then they get the Nimbus Companion kicks in, and it takes the transcription, and it takes the summary, and we actually see that someone in sales had to transfer through to finance. The virtual user can learn from that, and it will learn when and how to route to the correct team every time, first time. And this is a slide that we typically will go through with our customers. And this is about how and when we can deploy AI or automation during that customer journey, which we talked about briefly before. But for you guys, as I mentioned, this means that selling AI within the contact center, it's not a one and done. It's a journey that you can take that customer on. Whether that's selling AI at the triage stage to do some of that stuff that I talked about that virtual user will do, where it will allow customers to talk in their natural language and route the call accordingly, or even to answer some FAQs, through to when that call is connected. So if we do a CRM pop, or if we perhaps deliver a knowledge base article to the agent in real time, through to the post engagement. So some of that after call work, automatically transcribing and summarizing the call, or potentially creating some follow-up tasks as well. I'm working with a local council at the moment who are doing just that. They're using AI to deliver suggested follow-ups to the agent, and AI is picking those suggested follow-ups based on the council's internal policies and guidelines. So it's reading against their internal knowledge base articles and policies and guidelines that the council have to deliver suggested follow-ups to the agent at the end of the call. And then, of course, deploying analytics at the end of the call. So real-time monitoring, historical reporting, all of that good stuff. So I think the takeaway from this slide is that you can deploy AI or automation at any stage of that call, at the beginning, the triage stage, the connected stage, or the post-engagement stage at the end of the call. So why do salespeople love Luware? And I think this is really, really straightforward. There's kind of four main reasons. The first part is you can add margin to Teams deals. Typically, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, customers moved to Teams and partners thought, well, that's that. You know, there's nothing else for me to gather in terms of additional margin. With Luware, we're going to unlock that margin for you within those customers who have moved to Teams. That's no longer a customer that we can't generate revenue from. It's a customer that we can go into and have an open conversation about maximizing what they already have today. So Teams is what they operate, Teams is what they govern. But from a partner's perspective, that doesn't mean that's a lost customer. That means actually we can go and sell some increased value to that customer's existing environment. So they stand out from the competition. And I think that there's some truth around that. You know, some of the big CCaaS providers, you know, there's a lot of different partners. We're very selective about the partners we work with, which means less competition for you guys. I would also say as well, when it comes to less competition, we're 100% a channel-focused organization, which means we'll never be competing against you. We'll never be selling directly to customers. The door openers. Mike talked about this before, and there really is some really, really basic functionality and features that you can speak to Teams customers about today, which is CRM integration. So if they're using a CRM at the moment as a ticketing system and it doesn't speak to Teams, we solve that problem immediately. The attendant console, again, really, really basic. But if customers have moved to Teams and they've got receptionists, they're now without that switchboard functionality. We can solve that problem immediately as well. And then some of the informal contact center stuff. So maybe if it's not a contact center, maybe it's just a help desk. Again, if someone's moved to Teams and they've got a help desk, they've lost a lot of their features and functionality, we can plug that gap with our informal contact center, which is far more cost effective than going out and buying a big premium enterprise CCaaS solution, which kind of feeds into this low barrier entry where we can, as partners, start small and expand. So you can start with attendant console and then kind of work your way up. And that's what we see a lot of our customers do. A lot of our customers start with an attendant console, or they start with our informal contact center, and then they kind of gradually work their way up to where we've had customers start with attendant console for a couple of receptionists. By the end of that contract, we're then dealing with their full contact center service, even sort of omni-channel stuff. What that means for you guys as well, it's a far shorter deal cycle. And it's a shorter deal cycle for two reasons. The first reason is they already operate and they already govern Microsoft Teams, right? So this isn't brand new technology. This is something that they already have and that already exists within their environment. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that we can do things like the attendant console and the informal contact center, which is a far shorter deal cycle than fully fledged omni-channel contact center. Which leads me on to this slide, which is the most important part, I think, which is where are the opportunities? The big ones for me is any customers who have got a team-centric communication strategy, there is a conversation to be had there. Some of the other ones I would really look out for is the CRM integrations. So if customers have moved to Teams, but they've got a separate ServiceNow, HubSpot, Salesforce sitting somewhere else, it's a really, really quick win for us to integrate those. AI requirements, a lot of customers are talking about it, but they're not really sure where to implement it or how. We can absolutely help with that. And then there's some of the more basic stuff, your internal service desks and your receptionists. So some of the more basic stuff, but again, there's a low barrier of entry there for partners. So the key takeaway I would say from this, and this is probably the important bit, which is Teams on its own, we know is very low margin. Teams plus Nimbus is how partners can increase that margin. And it's the why, right? So Nimbus adds something tangible and valuable to that customer, whatever it is, whether it's the enterprise routing, which is our informal contact center, or if it's an attendant console, or if it's even our AI solutions. It adds something tangible and value to that customer's existing environment. So you're not competing with Microsoft, you're just extending what Microsoft can do using our technology. And you can start small and you can expand that account value over time. So the mindset I would take away from this as a partner would be, okay, how do I help this customer get more out of Teams, and how do I get paid for it, right? Because that's why we're all here as partners. That's where Nimbus comes in. We can add value to people's existing Microsoft environments without having to rip and replace, and we can get paid for doing that. Thanks for listening. I think that's all for me.
Thanks, Jordan. Brilliant. We'll ignore the first bit about West Ham. We'll come back to that maybe. And I'm now going to pass on to Aguna, which is even worse. Justin, all yours.
Good morning, everyone. Justin Powell, Channel Account Manager. Thanks, Michael. Yes, I'm a gooner, so top of the table, as we say. But anyway, that's football. This is voice capture and analytics. Let's get on to the exciting subject. So good morning, everyone. I'm Justin Powell, Channel Account Manager from Smarsh. I think one of the key things I want to jump into very quickly is who is Smarsh. Smarsh is probably not heard by anybody on the call, but if you do, happy days. Smarsh is a digital capture vendor that's been around 20 years, predominantly in the financial sector. We work with 19 out of the top 20 global banks, and it's basically around digital capture in financial institutions, Magic Quadrant, and we do billions of transactions around. Why is that really relevant to how we move on to today's call? Well, Smarsh has grown through the evolution of understanding how compliance and capture is working in organizations today. And through digital capture, where we are capturing billions of emails, collaboration, messages, etc., customers and clients are coming to us and going, we have other key issues that we are looking around compliance. The first one really was around mobile and mobile apps. How do we become compliant in the mobile world? Our users are actually using the mobile more and more. So Smarsh bought Telemessage, which enables us to capture SMS, mobile phone calls, WhatsApp, Telegram, etc. It enables us to capture it, secure it, and make sure that you can search on it. And then one of the key things as we were going on the journey with our clients once again is we were looking at how we can improve things like call recording and analytics. We're going to talk a little about how important voice is as a data channel. So they purchased Call Cabinet. Call Cabinet is a leader in call recording and analytics, and it works across multiple platforms, which we'll go through. So really, as an offering now for Smarsh, we're actually enabled to go into our clients and really offer like a one-stop shop for compliance and recording across multiple devices and applications. We're based in the cloud. Why is this important? Well, we're a cloud technology. We can do on-prem. For you and your clients, this is really important for data sovereignty. It enables us to offer call recording across the globe in local Azure tenants, enabling that to be absolutely, secure and compliant for local territories. And one of the things I think I wanted to get across today is that when we look at the call recording and analytics world, it's one of the most fast growing areas of add-ons when we're looking at UC and CX. In history, in time gone by, we've just looked at call recording as, oh, it's an add-on, it can happen, we can do it. Does it be compliant? What is compliance? So what really at Smarsh we're looking at and working with our channel, working with Nuvola, is getting our partners to understand the great opportunity. And I think Jordan also touched on it, is about how do we add value in that Microsoft license? How do we add on other technologies that's adding margin value, but more importantly, making us as a partner incredibly sticky to the end user? And with call recording enabling us to have long tenures of information storage, it's a really good opportunity to actually start talking to your customers around what they're doing around compliance, what they're doing about recording. And one of the interesting things today is that we all work in a digital world, and we've seen the massive growth in digital channels, and we want everything to be coming into one place. But voice is still the #1 communication tool, and it's not going to go away. But voice has changed. Voice has multiple applications. And what we see in clients today is it may be a Teams call, it may be a Zoom call, it may be a Ring Central 8x8. How are we bringing all of those calls into a single pane of glass and enabling us as a client to actually understand that voice traffic? Users today are using multiple tools in the voice world. How are we enabling? And that's something at Smarsh that we can do and bring everything together. So the client has got one single window, not multiple applications that's looking at Teams, looking at Ring, etc., etc. We can bring that all into one. And I think the power of one is a really key message to you as a partner, where it does enable you to look at the cross platforms that we can actually support. So as a partner, we can go from the Microsoft into the WebEx, the Zoom, etc., etc. But more importantly, if the client is looking to store in their own storage facilities, we can archive in their own, or more importantly, we can archive with us. But also we can push and pull in through many intelligence tools. So clients today are looking at how can we take this call recording, how can we take all of the key information and put it into a Salesforce or a Dynamic. That's something that we work with our clients, and we make sure that obviously that data is stored compliant in the relevant platform that they choose. But also, as well as there are many legacy migrations out there, we know there's a huge opportunity from on-prem into cloud. That's the same for call recording. How do we bring in existing call recording platforms into our platform? Well, we work with the client, we look at the data, and we bring all of those across so they can bring their historic data into the new world, and they can start using Smarsh as that interrogation platform for that data moving forward. So what's the Microsoft story? Well, we're fully embedded into the Microsoft ecosystem. We will go through the Teams and how it works, but also from a Microsoft partner perspective, the other thing that we can also look at is Copilot. We know how that's massively driving. So we do a Copilot capture service. We work fully in the Dynamics ecosystem. And as I said, we can also work with PureView, which is an application that Microsoft use for storage as well. So if you've got a Microsoft story, we're really integrated into Microsoft, and that's a really good application that we can work with you on. So when we're selling Microsoft Teams, Jordan made some very valid points around how do we get the most out of this license. But more importantly, today, the way we communicate has changed. We all know now that we are doing far more meetings, we are doing far more desk sharing, and we're doing messages, whether it's internal or external. We see clients maybe using a different UC product for front office, but they're using Teams for back office, and they're using Teams as an internal and external calling application. So what we do is we enable and we can capture all of these elements and bring them into our single window, and it allows the customer to see everything from a voice call to a desktop share to a meeting to a message, and that can work from a mobile perspective, mobile Teams, as well as any type of Teams contact center or third-party contact center that we want to bring in. So how do we actually bring everything in? Well, when we look at the application, and we can actually give anybody a full demo of this if they're interested after this call, but we bring everything into the application. So the world of call recording has changed, where now when we look at the actual recording of the call, we have multiple elements that we're bringing into that single window. We can, as I said, do the video recording, the screen recording. We've got full AI generated summary. That's enabling everything from the call to be summarized. And also, as well as we've got full quality assurance, we've got sentiment analysis, and we've got interaction. Really key buzzwords. But what does this mean? It means that we can start turning these customers that are using a UC platform into a CX engine at a far cheaper cost than putting a CX product maybe over the top. But also, as well as we're incredibly granular, that comes from permissions, as well as how long you want to store the product. And it's got comprehensive audit trails from a security and a compliance perspective. So when we look at this, this is all about compliance. So PII, PCI, MiFID, all of these compliances coming into one platform, enabling your customers to record their calls, transcribe their calls, move their calls to ultimate applications, or keep it with us. And everything is stored for the period of they choose. And when we look at this, we can also build into the Teams ecosystem. So if they want more of a basic look and feel, we're in the Teams app store and they can download our product and we can have full call recording, not to the level of our application, but it can actually just sit in the Teams recording window. And as Jordan said, we wouldn't have a slide if it wasn't about AI. I think this is really important for us. We have the capabilities of manual tagging, auto tagging. You can do full detailed reports on what the client is saying. So you've got all of that capabilities, but our AI engine is just sitting over the top and it's enabling the customers to ask some really simple questions and get some amazing data out of it. So example here, based on all of our calls, what positive feedback has Call Cabinet received specifically about its AI features? That'll then go into the product and it'll bring out all of the results. It can then analyze those results, give you actions, etc. So our AI is sitting over the top and it enables the client to do some really simple intelligence digging and bring out some great information. One of the key things that we are seeing in the voice world is that because we're capturing conversations, it's enabling the customer to turn that into data gold. Data is key, data is king. Rather than just seeing voice as a conversational analytics where they just sit, nothing ever happens with it, we're enabling our customers to understand what data through voice, messaging, and other applications that will come in, things like email, etc. We can understand what the client is saying, how we can help them, what are the key things that we can bring out of those data, and start turning that customer information into really positive sales or compliance or whatever issues they need to manage. So conversations is got to be around trusted data, helping them with compliance and bringing all of those products into one. And I think the outcome for the customer is that we now want to talk about intelligence and just not storage. So when we're having a call recording conversation, we can now start talking to our customers about how can we help you with that risk and compliance, giving you confidence around it. We can talk about how we can AI help them bringing those insights through. And more importantly, we can start making sure that the data has a wider business impact than just being stored away. We are a great easy license model. So how we operate is 3 key licenses, like any license model: entry, medium, top, all of the different features that are coming in. You can also mix and match with all of our licenses. So from a customer's perspective, they can just have basic licensing, and we can bring other elements of our licensing like PCI, PII redaction, or transcription, or analytics. So we can work with you and your customers to understand what they need. Unlimited usage and storage. So it's a license-based model, not a storage-based model. You can set your own retention policies, all of your voice transcriptions, and AI summarization is an option. And more importantly, it's that PCI, PII compliant and encrypted that a lot of customers are looking for today. That's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Right, I'm just going to pass over to Karen now, who's just going to be talking about how we work together with partners in the Luware and Smarsh world.
Thank you, Michael, and huge thank you, Jordan. Blore, I noticed it said Bloom, so
sorry,
apologies on that. That's fine.
Sorry.
I've been
thanks,
called
guys.
worse, don't worry.
Yeah. That's the West Ham bit.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to talk about football, so you'll be pleased to know, because I have no reason to do that based on my team. But there we are. Yeah, thanks, guys, for joining. Obviously, I'm hoping you can see from both what we've discussed around not only us as Nuvola, but obviously the story with the Luware and Smarsh, how this is a really exciting opportunity for anybody that's coming across Microsoft that either is new to this or that has been for some time. Without kind of going over what we have discussed around, obviously, entry to market and how we can look at some of those quick wins. I think the important thing to take from this is, how did Nuvola support you as the partner to start going out and have those conversations? The beauty is, obviously, we have the certifications. We've gone through that process of being able to not only support the technology that we're selling to our resellers, but being able to have the conversations shoulder to shoulder with you and your customers. We always say, any opportunity that you feel may be an opportunity, or you may be not sure, this is where we can fit in. So engage with us early. Some of the successes that we see is where our partners, as I mentioned, potentially aren't sure where some of these opportunities may sit, or some of these solutions. Engage us early, drop us an email. If you have an opportunity land in front of you that you feel could be a fit, just send it over and we can work with you to do that discovery piece. We will work with you, not as a separate business unit. So we can be an extension of your sales team, an extension of your professional services team. We are flexible, and we can suit all of our managed service providers and value-added resellers across that journey. We can look at RFP support. We see that a lot lately. I know Justin and Jordan both talked about some of those sectors, around public sector or finance. We are seeing a lot of these tenders coming out now where there are elements of their Microsoft journey and their strategy is clear, but how do they bring that together? So again, engage us in any of those RFPs that you may have land on your desks. And also, because of the certifications that we have, we're able to look at offering you proof of concepts into your customers. How do we do that? So let's look at maybe a smaller work stream, or it could be that we support you as the reseller with your own internal proof of concept solution. So can we roll that out across your help desks, for example, your service desks, or to enable, if you are Microsoft users yourselves, how do you get the maximum from the Microsoft technologies? So again, we can look at those for you, and that does work quite well once we've seen some of the proof of concepts in end user customers, perhaps in some of the smaller areas. This really does grow. And as and I will pick out what Jordan mentioned around attendant consoles. I've been on calls this week where the opportunity is around attendant consoles, but we know that's going to grow into something more exciting for the customer. So it's how we enable that for you and make that sales process as streamlined as possible. And I know Michael touched on this as well earlier on, around our dedicated help desk support from our Nuage pillar. That's something that we do pride ourselves on. So again, the key takeaways from this is that these two fantastic vendors, we can offer those help desk support. So don't be concerned that you have to look at certifications. Obviously you can if you want. We will help you on your journey and how that looks to you as a reseller. You may want to add these as a revenue stream, but with minimal overheads internally from your business. Absolutely fine. We can support you from inception right through to delivery and ongoing support. Or you may want to go on the journey where you begin to do your own onboarding yourselves to then become certified to deliver these packages. But fundamentally, we can help you on that journey, wherever that journey may be, and we have the dedicated help desk support teams to support you with that. So please just engage us. No opportunity is, or no question is perhaps a silly one. Absolutely not. We will help you on that discovery. right through from inception to complete delivery of the solution. And hopefully you've seen from today how exciting the opportunity is for you, whether you're managed service providers, resellers, Microsoft partners, we can support you across the whole package. And that's me done.
Thank you, Karen. Much appreciated. Okay, I'm conscious about time. I think I'm going to roll over to Katrina and see if we've got any questions for Justin and Jordan or Karen or myself.
We do have a few, but I'll be quick because I'm aware we've kind of a few minutes to the hour. Luware question, Jordan. What industries have you had success selling into? So key verticals.
Yeah, it's a good question. We've had a lot of success over the last 18 months, particularly with the public sector, in particular local government, education. And I think that's down to the fact that those industries in particular have a really poignant Microsoft strategy. So it's kind of natural for us to follow along with that. Outside of the public sector, we've also had a lot of success with financial services, and with manufacturing as well. It's kind of a generic answer, but any customers who are moving to Teams, we're having success there. But in terms of specific verticals, I would say public sector, manufacturing, financial services, insurance, we're having a great deal of success there as well.
Okay, and as someone's asked, how are the calls delivered?
How the calls delivered, I guess what they mean by that is how do they come into Nimbus. So we're completely agnostic as to how those calls come in. So whether that's direct routing, operator connect, calling plans, it makes no difference to us how those calls come in. They could be owned even by another partner. As long as those calls are coming into Teams, they'll hit Nimbus.
Cool. Okay. And Justin, I've got a question here for you. How many languages can you do in transcription form?
So we can transcribe in 30 plus languages. So it's transcription from language to language. So for example, French to French, etc. So these are really good for organizations, multilingual, that are looking for transcriptions, and looking forward, we can then working on to be able to transcribe from one language to another. But currently 30 plus languages that we can transcribe in.
Brilliant. I'm aware of time, so if anybody didn't get their question answered, I apologise, and we will get back to you. I'm sure Karen will be in contact later this week.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.